women and for the abduction of children and the elderly. And on the other side, the wokes. Everything you ask them, they say, look at the root cause. So-called liberals become the strongest support base for terrorists. Rape is not resistance and murder has no morality. If you agree with me, take a stance. Say openly, but say with pride and say with aggression. Tell these wokes, rape is not resistance and murder has no morality. Israel has started to bombard Gaza in retaliation for the act of barbaric terror unleashed on the people of Israel. Netanyahu has announced his intent. There is going to be a solid ground offensive. The Hamas is in panic. There is a definite division of the world order between those who believe that Israel has the right to retaliate for the killing of its people, for the murder of its babies, for the rapes on Israeli women, and for the abduction of children and the elderly. And on the other side, the wokes. Everything you ask them, they say, look at the root cause. So-called liberals become the strongest support base for terrorists. Rape is not resistance and murder has no morality. If you agree with me, take a stance. Say openly, but say with pride and say with aggression. Tell these wokes, rape is not resistance and murder has no morality.
Hello and a very good evening. You're watching Republic and I'm Deepthi Sachdeva. Our eyes continue to remain focused on all developments coming out of Israel right now. And are there more players, more variables in that big fight? How is the world responding to what's going on? What has Benjamin Netanyahu said? How is the IDF responding? We'll have details of that and much more live coverage. First up, as always, the headlines. Israel going all out along with airstrikes. Israel is planning a ground offensive next. Israel taking the Hezbollah terrorists head-on at the northern border. Lebanon has claimed to have lost their lives. Netanyahu chairs a key meet. He meets with the Israeli soldiers, speaks to European leaders on the ongoing situation. Operation Ajay is underway in full swing. The fourth batch of stranded Indians arrive from Israel. Republic Bangla getting you an updated news experience. The biggest news studio in Eastern India is unveiled. And first up, let's get you more details on what Israel is doing. In fact, another important comment that has just come in from Benjamin Netanyahu, who's reiterated, and he says, and I quote, "We will dismantle the Hamas." The Prime Minister also initially has asked his ministers to rise for a moment of silence. This is at the beginning of the cabinet meet. Do remember there is a unity government in place in Israel, and this is essentially to have a unified response and a quicker response to what's been happening vis-a-vis Israel and Hamas. The Prime Minister there has reiterated that every Hamas target is going to be annihilated completely. And that's his message yet again. He says, we will dismantle Hamas. I'm told Alicia is joining us live. Do remember she's been reporting from the war zone. She's a boot on the ground and getting you a lot of live coverage of what's going on, Alicia. First, why don't you tell us where about you at this point in time, Alicia? What is it that you can tell us that has happened all through today? And also importantly, Alicia, this message and that reiteration that's coming in from Benjamin Netanyahu yet again, where he says we will dismantle the Hamas.
Well, yes, Zipki, we have been seeing since morning there was 3 hours time a safe passage that was given to the Gaza resident. They were clearly asked to shift and evacuate to a safer place from the northern side to the southern side of Gaza City. But here is the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has asked the minister to rise for the moment of silence. Not only this, but he clearly given a sentence where he clearly given a message saying that the Hamas thought that we would come apart, but we will dismantle Hamas. Moreover, the statement that was given in from the Prime Minister office clearly stating that this is the first meeting of the National Emergency Government to which 5 additional ministers have joined, and they have been working around the clock as a team and a united front. The unity among the Prime Minister and the Minister gives a very clear message to the nation that the enemy and the world. But here Benjamin Netanyahu is clearly saying, I have seen an amazing soldier who are now on the front line. They know the entire nation is behind them. They understand the scope of submission. They are ready to take action at any time in order to defeat the bloodthirsty monster who have risen against us to destroy us. Such statement we have been seeing since the beginning, where the Hamas started the surprise attack on the last Saturday, after which the Prime Minister is being saying, constantly being giving the one statement that the war that has been started by Hamas, terrorists are going to be ended by Israel. And now the meeting that happened with the Prime Minister along with the ministers who were present at the meeting clearly mentioning that we will dismantle Hamas. This was the clear message that was given to the ministers who were present. But yes, we even know there are Israel military that have moved 100 of tanks close to the border with Gaza. There are raids that were conducted. Not only this, but during the IDF attack in South Lebanon, where the Hossein Kamal al-Masri, who is the militant in the Hezbollah organization, who was also killed. So here the IDF has been constantly firing. Well, yes, 3 hours time was given to them, but the time is over now. It is the Israel who is going to defend us. Dipti, I'm also being joined with Lav, who is constantly reporting with us. Lav, the clear message has been given by the Prime Minister, clearly mentioning we will dismantle Hamas.
Yes, right now we don't have a position in Israel. We had a better position 1 week ago, and now we can say that all the parties are united behind this war. I don't think that when Hamas was masterminding this mass here near the Gaza border, he thought that it would be one unified movement with the whole Israeli government behind the government, the US, and many other countries. Determination.
Well, yes. So as we've been seeing the statement that is coming in from the Prime Minister as well as the IDF, if we talk about the latest statement that was given by IDF in the information that they have provided, that in accordance with the situational assessment and the recent shooting incident in the North Israel, the area up to 4 kilometers from the northern border with Lebanon has been completely closed. Not only this, but IDF has emphasizes that entry into the area is prohibited and asks the public to be aware of this and not the area. Lav, if you can also talk about the restriction that has been made. Well, there was 24 hours of ultimatum that was given by Israel, but now 3 hours of extra time was also given to the citizens because Israel made it very much clear that the civilians are not the target.
Also, we should remember that this ultimatum is not because we as Israelis we believe that all the people will do. This is more a legitimation. It's part of a legitimate war, and to know that once we enter inside, all the people that we meet as far as the Israeli army is concerned, all of them are part of the Hamas army. So this was the idea. It is not that we have the illusion that is really willing to give each and every civilian the right to live to South Gaza.
Well, yes, Aditi, as you've been listening, there are constant artillery that has also been fired as we have been speaking. But yes, this morning, where as a part of an extensive IDF strike of senior operative and the terror infrastructure in the Gaza Strip, where the IDF and ISA has killed the Nukba commander as well, who was the Nukba commander of the forces in the southern Khan Yunis, who was responsible for Kibbutz and Nidim massacre.
Okay, Alicia, why don't you stay with me, because there is another quick breaking update, Alicia, that we must tell our viewers about. The story is getting extremely volatile right now, because you're looking at almost back-to-back developments, Alicia. We are learning now that the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, is going to be traveling to Israel yet again. He's going to be meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu yet again, is what we are learning. He, remember, has been touring the Arab countries, Alicia. And I think just a few hours ago, he was in Riyadh. He was meeting with MBS. And the US, for some time around, has been trying to tell Israel that we have your back. We are with you, because this is a fight against terror. But clearly, the US would not want this situation to escalate. So could there be some kind of a balancing act, Alicia? What are you learning?
Well, yes, US has made it very much clear, and even the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is constantly in touch with the US President Joe Biden, where they have spoke thrice, and also it's not the first time, but yes, the second time, where the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who is going to head back to Israel on Monday for his second visit in less than a week. And this is a tour of 6 Arab countries on the crisis with Hamas, as per the State Department, which has given the statement. But we also saw the tweet that was given by the President Joe Biden, clearly mentioning that we should not lose sight of the fact that the overwhelming majority of the Palestinians has nothing to do with the Hamas appalling attack and are suffering as a result of them. But here Israel has been taking a complete care of, and specifically they were given some time, the civilians who want to leave, because there are civilians who are willing to come to the southern side, but yet they have been forced to stay in the northern. Lab can put a more light on this. Lab, there are many of the people, the civilians, the residents of the people who have been staying in the northern side wanted to come to the southern side as per the ultimatum that was given, but they were forced to leave because Hamas terrorists is been hiding. They have been shielding behind the women and children.
Yes, this is the only way Hamas can fight Israel in the last 15, 17 years. It is building the civil society, within civilians, and then telling Israel to fight us because so many civils. And then you will have the burden of explaining the world how come you're so foolish. So right now, the massacre that was just 8 days ago, that put Hamas more or less like Al-Qaeda, like ISIS, like Daesh. In a way, Hamas lost its diplomacy, at least among recent countries. And right now, it is true. Hamas tells its citizens, don't leave to southern Gaza, southern Gaza. But we know that a lot of them, they are not obedient to Hamas. They are simply running away to southern Gaza. They don't want to die. They don't want to be in a war that is not part of their will.
Well, yes, so Dipti, as you hear, there are more US envoy that will return to Israel after stops in Arab nations, and this is to aim at avoiding a border conflict. But the time that was given by Israel has already been over. But we have to see now what will be the further step, because it is too early to say what will be the action that is going to be initiated by Israel. But yes, it will be Israel now who is going to be full-fledged into the Gaza city. They are been targeting the commander and the head of the military staff as far as Hamas is concerned. So they have been killing them, but we'll see what are the further action that is to be initiated, because the time and the ultimatum that was given by Israel is been completely over now.
Now, two important things, Alicia. The IDF has already spoken of what they are saying could be a humanitarian corridor to ensure that ordinary citizens, Palestinians, could just be moved out of Gaza as soon as possible, because the time is of the essence. And we've heard Benjamin Netanyahu and the IDF, Alicia, reiterating again and again that we will ensure that all Hamas targets, all Hamas men are completely annihilated. So what are we hearing about that corridor? Is that already in place? Could that be done sooner? And the other concern, Alicia, is about the hostages. Antony Blinken, while he was in conversation with MBZ in Riyadh earlier, has spoken about how he's expecting some intervention to allow these hostages to be freed.
Well, yes, Dipti, as far as the humanitarian corridor is concerned, IDF has made it very much clear that they are going to allow a humanitarian corridor to the southern Gaza Strip, declaring it will not attack in the vicinity of Salanet Din Street from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. That is to the Israel time, and which is why 3 hours of safe passage has been given to the citizens, because Israel has made it very much clear that the citizens are not the target. It's the Hamas terrorists who's taking the shield of the women and the children. They have been hiding behind the children. But the time is over, and we are going to see that the Israel forces is going to move forward, because it has been happening since last night. As we even know, there was some race that was conducted where many of the people, the dead bodies of the people who were missing since the Hamas attack, that has came into light. But as far as the development has been concerned, well, yes, there are Israeli tanks that are rolling towards the southern border with Gaza. And this build-up comes up after the million of residents of Gaza City were given 24 hours to evacuate towards the south, indicating that the troop may enter the Gaza north. So there are several tanks and armored vehicles are stationed near the border fence. And even the Israel have vowed to destroy the military capabilities of Hamas, where Israel has been responding with airstrike in Gaza, bombing out the Hamas hideout.
Okay, and in the middle of all this, Alicia, like I said, you have a lot of movement, there are a lot of variables, a lot of characters in the entire story. There's also a talk of the Hezbollah. Has the Hezbollah joined this fight officially? Now, Lebanon has also been claiming that it continues to back the cause of Palestine and Hamas. So this could actually make things very difficult, because the moment you will have an invasion, a ground invasion by Israel of the Gaza Strip, could we be looking at a multi-pronged war that possibly could begin?
Well, yes, Dipti, because the strategy has been made, and we know that the Prime Minister is constantly having a meeting with the ministers as well as the IDF chief, Israel Air Force. They've been having the constant meeting to chalk out all the strategy as far as the Hamas attack is concerned. But here the IDF has been constantly firing artillery, the rocket that has been fired. Not only this, but there are Markava, which is known as the world's best tank, which has also been moved towards the Gaza. But here IDF, who has carried out strike on Hezbollah terrorist infrastructure as well, because IDF for aircraft, artillery and tanks struck several military targets of the Hezbollah terrorist organization in Lebanon in response to the mortar shells that launched over the Israel territory earlier today. So yes, in all this fight, as we also know that the Hezbollah fighter has also been killed in clashes with the Israeli military. So yes, it's an Israeli forces which is going to be full-fledged now. The time that was given, it was only for the citizens, because the citizen was never a target for the Israeli, which is why the meeting has been conducted. The safe passage has been created for those citizens who wanted to come from the northern side of the Israel to the southern side of the Gaza border. But now the time is over, and we know that the Israel forces have been already taken place, and they have been moving forward constantly and killing some of the either Hamas operative that has been coming out to the tunnel shaft, because it's an idea who spotted a numbers of Hamas operatives coming out of the tunnel in the Gaza during this afternoon as well. It's an IDF aircraft which eliminated the terrorists and attacked the routes of the tunnel from which the terrorists came out. So it's an IDF, Israel Defense Force, who continues at all times to pursue Hamas terrorists and strike hard at the terrorist organization.
Okay, Alisha, why don't you stay with us? Let's also get into this conversation. Gursimran, who's also, remember, our boot on the ground, and both of them, Alisha and Gursimran, ladies and gentlemen, for the last 9 days have been staying put in the war zone. It's day 9 of that entire war. Now, in a war situation, Gursimran, what is worse is no one knows what is happening next. Israel has made its stand very clear. We will ensure that Hamas is obliterated from the face of Gaza. But is that going to be easy? There is a talk of a human corridor that possibly could be made. Alisha spoke about this. Now, what is it, Gursimran, that you can add to what we know? What is it that you have seen, you have heard so far?
See, a couple of minutes back, Prime Minister of the Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, had a first cabinet meeting. This was the first cabinet meeting of the opposition that has been the united government he has formed, which has the members from the opposition side also. And during that meeting, one thing was, apart from the condolences that were paid to those who have fallen in this attack of Hamas terrorists, the one thing that was very clear, that he said that Hamas tried to put us apart, but Hamas will be decimated. This clearly means that there is going to be a spectacular strike which the Israel side is planning, and the political go-ahead which is needed has been given. Since the cabinet meeting, these words have been said by the Prime Minister of the country. This means that the entire cabinet has been taken into the confidence, and now the country will be carrying out some of the strikes, the key strikes on the Hamas terrorists. See, the strategy which the Israel is following is very clear-cut, that they are going by the military rules. That means first to destroy the enemy from their area, from their safe zone, and then to advance in the enemy's area. This has been the way of the carrying out the military operations. And as we speak, some of the soldiers of the Israel forces, you will see they will be moving towards the Egypt side. This is the Rafah crossing area, which happens to be one of the border areas, and they are also giving the signatures of the victory signatures, and also the success thumbs up they are showing us. It's important to mention that this Rafah crossing is also one of the areas that has been the point of contention between the Israel and the Egypt, because Israel has fired a projectile on the Rafah crossing between the Egypt and the Gaza Strip. That means they wanted to interrupt the cross-border trade that was taking place between the Egypt and the Gaza Strip. And now this is one of the main point of contention between the Egypt side and the Israel side. So now the things are moving in a direction where Israel has many enemies, but it has friends, be it the United States, which is standing like a wall with it. But it has to be seen that when the invasion of Gaza, that is the ground operations, will take place from the Israel side, who will be standing with whom? That is something that will change the entire war, because Lebanon side, Hezbollah group has become more active than it was in the past couple of years.
Oh yes. So what we'll do, Gursimran and Alisha, next is we'll put out more details that both of you have been able to share with us. This is vis-a-vis the humanitarian corridor. This is about the IDF. What should people in Gaza be doing? Remember, there have already been indications, many enough to tell them that you need to move out of North Gaza to ensure that civilian casualties are minimized as and when an offensive takes place. Now, there are more reports of firing that still continues. Anti-tank missile has been fired towards the IDF post. This is the 5th such attack that you have seen and reported in the day, Alisha. What more can you tell us about this?
Well, yes, this is an update coming in from Israel Defense Force, clearly saying that for the first time today, where the report was received of an anti-tank missile being fired towards an IDF post along the blue line with Lebanon. So yes, this is the first time where the IDF has been, they've been fighting towards the blue line with Lebanon. Moreover, there are constantly updates that we have been getting as far as the Hamas attack has been concerned, because it's also Israeli Navy who has eliminated Palestinian terrorists who tried to infiltrate Israel from the sea this morning. And also there are anti-tank missile fire that was shot at IDF soldiers who were operating along the Lebanese border. But in response to that, the IDF is currently striking Hezbollah military targets. So there are targets which have been made, as I mentioned earlier. There are strategies that has also been made, and there are constant meetings that has been happening. And we even know that the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was clearly having the meeting and making it very much clear as far as the strategy is concerned. So, in accordance with the situation assessment and the recent shooting incident in the northern Israel, the area also up to the 4 kilometers from the northern border with Lebanon has completely been closed. So the IDF has emphasizes that the entry into the area is completely prohibited, and also asked the public to be aware and not to enter the area. So such message has already been given. Not only this, and the civilians in the area up to 2 kilometers from the border have been asked to stay near the protected area, because GPS has also been restricted in active combat zone in accordance with the various operational needs. And citizens should also be aware that a GPS restriction can cause temporary glitches in location-based applications. So this was the information that was given by Israel Defense Force, and as we know that there are IDF who is constantly making an attack to the southern Lebanon, because one of the militant in Hezbollah organization, Hossein Kamalan Masri, was already been killed during the IDF attack.
Okay, Alisha, I just want to give the last word to Gursimran because it's important. A lot of your viewers have been asking Gursimran that both you and Alisha have now spent the last many days covering the war zone for us. Now, in your sense, Gursimran, is the situation any better? Do you see any kind of de-escalation, or you believe that this war only and only will escalate from here on?
See, with zero de-escalation, it is absolute escalation that is taking place, and as we speak there has been artillery fire that has been started by the IDF on the Hezbollah group, that is on the Lebanon side, because early morning there was a ATGM anti-tank guided missile that was used by the Hezbollah group on the IDF post, and now the post of the second post, it is the second time that the Hezbollah is being targeted in a different location on the Lebanon border. Just a couple of seconds back, an update has been shared by the IDF that we are striking the Hezbollah and on the Lebanese border with the artillery fire. So the situation is escalating not only in the border with the Hamas, with the Gaza, but also with the Lebanon border with the Hezbollah group. Yes.
All right, and whatever, Gursimran, you and Alisha are doing is not easy. Please stay safe. Along with our video journalists also are tracking that story and ensuring that you get a first-hand account of what reporting from a war zone looks like. To Alisha and to Gursimran, thank you so much for getting us the latest, as we'll quickly head into a break right now, but with a promise that Republic will keep you ahead with the most incisive coverage on this ongoing war situation.
Amity has been ranked India's #1 not-for-profit private university for 11th year, with top 10 ranked institutions in management, engineering, biotech, law, masscom, telecom, hospitality, fashion and more. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
We have been reporting from Yapini, and there are more than 100 tanks which we can see which has been moving to the Gaza. So while we are talking, there are also explosions that have been happening.
Israeli Defense Forces is moving towards the Gaza city.
Preparation has begun for the mega attack that the Israel has prepared on the ground zero, and these are the never seen visuals on the roads of Israel ever before, because there has not been this massive deployment on the ground zero by the Israel forces. But these tanks here on the ground zero, this shows that how this is going to have the impact on the nefarious designs of the enemy.